So Street Fighter 6 just came out and everyone's very excited to get their hands on the thirstiest fighting game of the decade. Everyone's coming into this one double cheeked up and ready to take over DeviantArt. And I'm not even just talking about the ladies. Zangief's looking wetter than ever, and Luke's looking ready to steal the keys to his dad's convertible to go rail his boss's daughter. Everybody's hot. Hotter than they should be. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the ways these characters go about making each other look, well, not so hot. Now look, I'm no professional Street Fighter player. Alright, I'm not going to EVO anytime soon or anything. Regardless, I am going to be the final authority on what characters are and aren't good. So sit back and enjoy while I give you an honest review of every character in Street Fighter 6. First up, we got Vanilla Ice, with his grotesque forearms and full body stretch marks. Luke looks like a pair of pantyhose somebody stuffed a bunch of watermelons into. Luke's coming in with canonically the biggest forearms in the game, and it's medically concerning. I actually went to a Street Fighter 6 launch event and got to talk with some people at Capcom. And let me tell ya, they do not love all the comparisons to Popeye people are making about Luke. But like, can you really blame people, Capcom? You did this to yourself. Alright, just fix him. I know there's a slider that controls forearm thickness somewhere in the code, alright? Just turn it down. But despite Luke being terrible to look at, he feels amazing to play. This guy is vicious. Everything Ryu does, Luke does 6 times more brutal. Which sucks, considering he's such a douche.
Hadouken! Hadouken! Hadouken!
But he just feels so good to play. Everyone else on the roster comes in with their sacred, practiced martial arts techniques. And Luke's just here to kick your fucking ass. His first move is a fireball that comes out of his fist like a fucking shotgun blast. You see what I mean? He doesn't even have to be standing near you to punch you. If Luke's punching, you're getting hit. And he's got 2 fists, so you know he can do that shit twice. Flash Knuckle is a chargeable punch that changes properties depending on which button you activate it with, and deals greater damage the longer you charge it. Naturally, the Overdrive version would just add a second punch to this move. If he were a pussy, the Overdrive version of this move breaks your opponent's neck, slams their skull into the ground, and then files their divorce. Avenger is a gap closer that makes Luke scuttle forward like a little crab boy trying to get your toes. The Overdrive version of this move gains armor, which makes this an extremely effective option for closing gaps with your opponent. Pressing any punch will result in him canceling the scuttle with a strong right hook, and pressing any kick will cancel it into an overhead. Rising Uppercut launches your opponent into the air, and the Overdrive version throws their ass back down because Luke ain't done beating it yet. Luke is relentless, both in his playstyle and in his crimes against fashion. Look, I joke about him, but I never knew how much I would want an MMA fighter in a fighting game until I got my hands on Luke. Capcom is clearly trying to position him as sort of the new face of Street Fighter, and despite desperately needing a redesign, again, I think he makes an excellent addition to the roster and a worthy successor to Ryu. Now, who's ready to get fucking sloshed? When Jaime shows up to a street fight, he wakes up 3 hours later in one of 2 places: a hospital or a victory ceremony. Either way, he's gonna have a 40 rack taped to his hand, and the after party's at his place. Losing against Jaime is the most frustrating thing in the world, because not only is he one of the flashiest looking fighters in the game, but he's also having a fucking blast the entire time. Take a drink every time Jaime breakdances on your ass. Take a drink every time Jaime leans in for a sweet cuddle. Take a drink every time Jaime takes a drink. And the worst part is that the drunker Jaime gets, the stronger he gets. His first ability is the Devil Inside, in which Jaime takes a swig of some key-enhancing drink. Yeah, okay, game, whatever you say. And unlocks additional moves based on his drink gauge. Get Jaime drunk enough and you'll get to see him unwind, let his hair down, and turn into an absolute menace. For example, the move Free Flow Strikes becomes out of my fucking way when Jaime gets a little sauce in his system, turning a 3-punch attack into a 7-punch one. But if that move didn't have enough drinking in it for you, then Jaime also has Free Flow Kicks, which is basically the 21 and over version of the previous move. This combo string ends with Jaime taking a swig from his gourd, which is a great way to get your drink level up without having to completely drop your defenses. Swagger Step is an extremely fast gap closer that works great for when the bartender tries to take your keys away. I said I'm fine! Arrow Kick is Jaime's anti-air, which launches the opponent into the air with a kick and then uses a recoil to follow up with another one. Now that we're done with the virgin moves, let's switch to something a little stronger. At drink level 1, Jaime unlocks Luminous Dive Kick, which is essentially just your average dive kick. After 2 shots, Jaime will start tearing the floor up despite nobody asking to see his breakdancing moves. After 3 shots, Jaime goes from being a fun drunk to an obnoxious one and just starts snapping in his opponent's face. This is essentially a harmless throw that leaves your opponent in a very brief state of disbelief. Did you just fucking snap at me? That allows you to follow up with a free attack. Finally, when Jaime gets blackout drunk, he adds a highly damaging second palm to Swagger Step for when the bartender just can't seem to take a hint. Jaime is sick, and in my opinion, deserves to be the new face of Street Fighter far more than Luke. He has a cooler design, a cooler fighting style, he's more charismatic, but despite this, I understand why it's Luke. Luke is definitely a better beginner character, while Jaime acts as more of a stepping stone for new players to get into more advanced characters. So if you're a newer player and you feel like you've gotten the ropes down after playing a bunch of Luke, feel free to come party with Jaime. Everyone's invited. Up next is Menon, who looks like a cross between a Russian ballet instructor and a strawberry popsicle. She also fights like one, both a ballet instructor and surprisingly a popsicle. And since she's a character in Street Fighter 6, she's also thick as hell. Fighting against Menon is like participating in a Broadway musical you never consented to. She's flipping and twirling across the screen, and the whole time you're just like, please stop, I don't know my lines! Alright, it's like a theater kid's worst nightmare. Menon's first special is a French word I can't pronounce, so we're gonna call it Dance With Me, bitch. Because boy does she dance with you, and boy are you her bitch. It's a grab that increases her metal level every time it successfully lands. The higher her metal level, the stronger the move becomes. Going from a simple grab into a throw, to a full-on exhibition of Menon's 23 years of dance experience. Her next move is Rond Point, which is just a big ol' anti-air kick. After that, we have Dejage. I'm sorry, I really don't know this language. Which is an incredibly versatile kick that changes properties depending on the button you press. Light kick turns it into a low, medium kick makes it a mid, and heavy kick makes it an overhead. Her next move is essentially Dance With Me, bitch, except Menon lunges forward before grabbing, giving the move a little extra reach, but causing far less damage than her other command grab. This attack also gets stronger depending on her metal level, and can be cancelled into a kick by pressing any kick button before the grab connects. Remember when I said Menon fights like a popsicle? Well, that's because she's pretty much just like a torso sitting on top of 2 popsicle sticks. Her leg reach is insane, and honestly, I'm starting to realize why they sort of designed her to look like a flamingo. For all the jokes I make though, Menon does a great job at translating ballet into a fighting style. Her moveset is a combination of grabs, feints, and kicks, with plenty of options to mix up your opponent on the fly. Menon embodies the grace, control, flexibility, and glute strength of a dancer. Choose her if you're the type of player that likes to force your opponent to follow your lead. Up next is Kimberly, a very bland character design with an equally uninteresting moveset. Psych! Just kidding, she's adorable and one of the best characters in the game. Kimberly's rad. She's like a graffiti ninja, zipping around the screen, using paint canisters as grenades. And most importantly, Kimberly doesn't give a fuck. Most characters have like 6 special moves. Fuck you, I got 15. Like the song that's currently playing? No you don't, I'm changing that shit. Kimberly doesn't just play to the beat of her own drum, she jams out to it. I'm not even kidding, performing her level 3 super art changes the game's soundtrack, and gives Kimberly a buff to her walking speed, damage, and confidence as a girl boss. Kimberly's first attack is Bushin Senpukyaku, which sends Kimberly and her opponent into the air with a series of kicks. The overdrive version of this move comes out nearly instantly, and Kimberly can also perform this attack in the air. Her next attack is Sprint, which is actually like 7 attacks disguised as 1. Kimberly can deliver an anti-air, a low, or an overhead attack by pressing any one of the kick buttons at the end of her sprint. Pressing no buttons at the end of her sprint will cause her to run up the opponent with a couple of kicks, but pressing punch after pressing no buttons at the end of her sprint will cause her to run up the opponent with a couple of kicks and then grab them, and pressing kick after pressing no buttons at the end of her sprint will cause her to run up her opponent with a couple of kicks and then kick them. Sprint also just allows Kimberly to be on your opponent's ass in a second, and you know what? That's not even her only gap closer. Is Kimberly sprinting full speed at your opponent not crazy enough? What if she just appeared in front of them instead? Huh? Gap closed enough for ya? The fact that Kimberly has sprint and this move is crazy. You might as well call her a bridge for how many gaps she closes. Kimberly not closing the gap enough for ya? Throw a paint grenade and make the opponent close the gap for you. Fuck it, throw 2. What gap? Kimberly worked retail for years before eventually being fired for closing the store too early. Wanna guess what store that was? It was the Gap! Now, there are some schools of thought that consider the space above the ground to be a type of gap. And Kimberly closes that shit too. Kimberly is an incredibly oppressive character with an insane amount of rushdown and spacing control. Kimberly's awesome, and if rushdowns are your thing, Kimberly's your girl. Now, if you're in the mood for something a little thicker, Marisa looks like a tropical fruit stuffed into a high school cheerleader's uniform. I don't know who told Marisa this haircut was a good idea, but just because you use a Spartan helmet instead of a bowl doesn't make it any less of a bowl cut. But you're out of your fucking mind if you think I'm gonna say that to her face. I keep seeing comments of people being like, oh, I want muscle mommy to crush my head between her thighs. No the fuck you don't. Are you kidding me? I didn't even know half these muscles existed until I saw this girl. There's no gratification to be had from Marisa crushing you. You'd hand her the money and then you'd be dead. You wouldn't even have time to register that a woman had her legs wrapped around you. You might as well simp for a hydraulic press. Fighting Marisa makes you feel like your opponent is angry at you for even picking up the controller. She's brutal. Every hit from her makes you wish there was a button that would have your character just stay on the ground. Her first move is Gladius, which makes your opponent just fucking regret buying this game. It's a punch that can be charged up for extra damage, and results in Marisa doing her absolute best to turn your opponent's skull into a wristwatch. Her second special hits you with an uppercut and then slams you back down before you can even register whether or not you got knocked off your feet in the first place. Her next attack has her leap into the air with a powerful downward punch. This move has amazing recovery and is great for continuing offensive pressure. She also has a Spartan kick to match her cosplay, which acts as Marisa's main gap closer. That's a crazy sentence considering she only takes one tiny step forward, but her leg is so fucking long she might as well launch across the entire screen. Her final move is Scud'em, which sounds gross for some reason, and puts Marisa into a defensive stance. Except psych, no it doesn't. This is probably the most offensive she could possibly be. Try to attack her? No you didn't. Try to block? Boom, leg sweep. Try to duck, boom, overhead. Try nothing, and Marisa will hit you with one of the most brutal looking grabs in the entire game. Look at this fucking grab. This looks like a hold your older brother would put you in when he's improvising creative ways to hurt you. I don't know what's happening to me, but I give up. Marisa is always attacking you. Even when she's blocking, she's attacking. If you have a personal grudge against your opponent and you want them to know it, make sure you pick Marisa. Lily is absolutely adorable, and frankly, I think she might be lost. Kid, are you sure you want to be in this game? Have you seen Marisa? Even if we went by weight class, who does that leave you with? Dulcim? Look, you seem very excited to be here, and I am happy for you, but I feel like I should be charged with a felony for letting you go up against Zangief. There are literal monsters fighting in this game, and you have the head of a baby. Excuse me if I don't feel right about seeing Blanca try and maul that little baby head off of its neck. Unfortunately, nobody else in the game seems to take Lily seriously either.
I'm ready.
Hope you're ready.
Yeah, it's what she just said. Remember when I joked about Kimberly having a bland moveset? Well, that's sort of Lily. She's a part of the Thunderhawk clan, so she has a lot of, bird-like attacks. But I mean, come on, birds can only be so interesting. Her first move is Condor Wind, which has her twirl her clubs above her head and envelop herself with wind. This move can be charged to gain more wind stacks, which change the properties of certain attacks. Activating this move with a medium or heavy punch will also result in Lily ending her twirl with an attack. Condor Spire is a spiral attack that gains an extra hit when empowered with a stack of wind. Tomahawk Buster is an anti-air attack that launches Lily into the sky and makes her invincible against all aerial attacks. Condor Dive is like the same thing, rotated 90 degrees. Mexican Typhoon is cool because it makes Lily uncharacteristically brutal for a second as she wraps her clubs around her opponent's neck and swings around before slamming them into the ground. But that's pretty much it. Her wind-clad gimmick is cool in theory, but it essentially just adds an extra hit to all of her attacks. It isn't as fun as Jaime or Juri's mechanic, because it doesn't fundamentally change the way she plays. You know, it might as well just be a damage buff at the end of her specials. Lily's fine, brimming with personality, but just fine. Up next is JP Morgan, coming in looking like he just invented the pocket watch. This dude is the CEO of Swagger, with forearm veins that are just begging to be released from their fleshy prison. This guy looks like he has snakes living inside of him. How much fucking blood do you have? JP's a real piece of shit. How do I know? Because his name is Johan Petrovich. What, did you come out of the womb evil? What the hell kind of name is that? JP doesn't like the poor touching him, so naturally, he's one of the game's biggest zoners. His first attack causes a spike to shoot out of the ground, which can hit the opponent wherever the hell JP wants it to. Stribog causes JP to swing his staff to create a barrier of psycho energy, smacking away opponents like they're the needy, asking him to chip in for a Christmas goose. I said back to work! Departure allows JP to place a void of psycho energy in the air, which will eventually spawn a thorn that tracks your opponent. He can activate this move again with a light or medium punch to teleport to the rift, or use a heavy punch to spawn the thorn early. The overdrive version of this move spawns 2 rifts, which is just like the hypest part of JP's kit. If you spawn 2 rifts, you can choose which one you want to teleport to, and the other one will automatically spawn a thorn when you do. JP's next attack is Amnesia, in which he conveniently forgets that he was the one that started this fight in the first place, countering the opponent's attack and slapping them with a fat lawsuit in return. I mean bomb. How dare you touch me! After that understandably triggering confrontation with a local vagabond, JP's done risking his own safety for the sake of settling his disputes, so it's time to send in the help. His next attack sends out a demonic clone to do his dirty work for him. The clone can do whatever JP wants it to do. Low attacks, mids, overheads, send out hush money, blackmail people, whatever. But when that all fails, JP can use his final special move to have the clone straight up choke a bitch. Like I said before, JP's rift mechanic is what really spices up his kit. It makes him a little more interesting than your standard fighting game zoner. The level of control you have over these rifts gives JP a ton of strategic value, and makes him a ton of fun. And at the end of each match, you get the added satisfaction of reminding your opponent that they're so worthless, so pathetic, you wouldn't even dare step foot on them. Now, if you want to get your feet all over the opponent, have I got the girl for you. Hide your cats, because these dogs are barking. I'm sure that someone at Capcom is incredibly passionate about Juri. You know, maybe they were her original concept designer, they fought tooth and nail to put her in every iteration of Street Fighter that they can, and that's great. But sooner or later, somebody's gonna have to take a look at that guy's fucking hard drive, because this is getting ridiculous. Juri's a freak in this game. And yeah, she's always been the foot fetishist of the franchise, but they went full Tarantino mode on her in this game. And thank God. I mean, thank God they included her signature, iconic tire in this game. I mean, she just isn't Juri without it. Juri's first attack is an upward kick that charges a stack of fuha, or you know, however you pronounce that. These stacks enhance her other special moves, and even allow some to follow up into others. For example, Saihasho is a special move that results in a low sweep kick. With 1 stack of Fuha, this kick launches a slow projectile and can be followed up with either Unkensatsu or Go-Osatsu. Each of these moves can be followed up with each other interchangeably, so long as Juri has Fuha stocked. Now, even though all of Juri's attacks are kicks, she does have 1 special move that's activated with the punch buttons. But to Juri, hands are just the feet that nobody wants to suck the toes of. So this move is a kick too. Tensenrin is a windmill kick that can be used in a variety of situations to deal big damage. And finally, Juri has a dive kick that can be extended by pressing a kick button after it connects. Much like a foot with many toes, Juri is a girl of many talents. She's all about momentum, following one attack with another to create a devastating hurricane of toenail paint. She's so relentless that one of her super arts allows her to cancel normal moves into other normal moves and unique attacks. I mean, you know, I'm not good enough to make any use of that, but my slightly competent knowledge of fighting games tells me that that's pretty crazy. Up next is DJ, who's just happy to fucking exist. Look at him, this dude's having a blast, and I haven't even selected him yet. Find DJ in the character selection beating on an oil drum in rhythm to the game's theme music and try not to choose him. But I guess you can afford to be this happy when you're 7 feet tall and have a restraining order on body fat. DJ looks crazy. He's like a jump scare hidden in the character selection menu. Zangief is 7 feet tall and 400 pounds, and for some reason, that body seems more attainable to me than DJ's. DJ's first move is a projectile called Air Slasher, but since it's a back-forward motion, you better believe I'm never going to be using it. Same goes for Jackknife Maximum, which despite having an awesome name and being a really good anti-air, just isn't worth the emotional toll trying to pull off that input in the middle of a match would have on me. DJ's next move is a little twirl, because why not? We're all just having fun here. After that is Rolling Sobat, which unleashes a fierce spinning kick when activated with medium kick, and unleashes 2 when activated with heavy kick. In Machine Gun Uppercut, DJ channels an entire ass beating into a single uppercut, punching your opponent in the mouth until their jaw turns into a fucking liquid. Finally, DJ has a move called Just Cool. Because yes, he is. This is a backstep that leads into a bunch of other options. Light kick follows us up with a low attack, medium kick follows us up with an overhead, and heavy kick follows us up with a launcher. DJ can also use forward punch to dash back towards the opponent, and then use back punch to dash back again before doing a little nuh-uh-uh. You know what? I bet people are gonna be mad at me for not including characters' super arts in this video. Maybe I should just... what the fuck is this? DJ is my second favorite character next to Jury. And even though I'm not good enough to use 2 of his special moves or half of his super arts, his complete mastery and control of the battlefield still makes him incredibly fun to play. You really feel DJ's personality come through when you play him. He's all about dashing in and out of combat, throwing feints at your opponent to keep them stressed. And they should be stressed. If I found myself in a fight against a guy who was this confident, I'd probably be panicking too. Now, Cammy... oh... Cammy! Let me tell you something about Cammy's redesign. Capcom took Cammy from a girl that wouldn't exist to a girl that just wouldn't talk to me. They put her in more clothes, gave her an outfit that was actually realistic, and somehow made her 10 times hotter. Oh, Danny, relax. She's just a video game character. You relax. All right, I've been good this whole video. I've respected all the characters. Let me simp. Cammy's stretching out these yoga pants so much, they're practically begging for mercy. And half of her attacks have her wrapping her thighs around her opponent's head. I am not just gonna sit idly by while she tortures a pair of pants. Anyway, Cammy's hot, and I love her. But she's also fun to play. Her first attack is I Love You, Cammy, which delivers a spinning kick that acts as a great thigh gap closer. The heavy kick version of this attack can be held down to cause Cammy to end up behind the opponent after it ends. Her next attack is called Cammy I'd Do Anything For You, which is her main anti-air. Just like the previous move, holding down the heavy kick button will cause Cammy to end up behind the opponent when the attack finishes. Cammy Please Call Me Back has Cammy spin forward and deliver a backhand to her opponent. Please Cammy We Could Be So Good Together is Cammy's dive kick that helps her maintain pressure on the opponent even while in the air. And finally, I don't understand why you aren't returning my calls. What does he have that I don't? What can he be that I can't? What more could I do to show you that I care? Is Cammy's final special move. Cammy performs a spinning jump in the air which closes a good amount of distance and ends in a low kick. Pressing any kick button will cause Cammy to cancel this move into a dive kick. Pressing down kick cancels into an overhead, and pressing light punch and light kick together cancels it into a grab that I've been thinking about ever since this game's trailer dropped. Jokes aside, Cammy's an incredibly fun character that's all about keeping your opponent guessing and using cross-ups to her advantage. She definitely feels more technical than a lot of the other characters. None of her moves feel very crazy or powerful on their own, but instead feel like individual tools to be used in conjunction with each other. And if Cammy ever wants a tool to be used in conjunction with her, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe and like if you want to see a part 2. Also, feel free to comment suggestions of other games you'd like to see me explain, or whatever this was. Let me know who your favorite character in Street Fighter 6 is in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time.
Hold on to me, baby. Won't you come a little closer? Where I live for now. I wrote down what you said to me, baby, but give it